Hi everyone. Okay, in this session we're going to be multiplying polynomials by monomials. Okay, so let's start off with an easy one. Okay, let's say I want you to multiply x and x plus 4. Okay, just by looking at it we know right off the bat that we have to use the distributive property. Okay, so we're going to distribute this x times x to the second power. Okay, x times positive 4 is positive 4x. Okay, let's move on to something a little bit more difficult. Okay, so let's say I want to multiply negative 2x times 3x to the second power minus 2x plus 1. Okay, same deal. Okay, just distribute. Okay, so let's start off with this. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. X times x to the second. Well, you're going to bring down that x, but we have to figure out what the exponent is. So it's x, this is really x to the first power. So 1 plus 2 is 3. Okay, now let's move on to negative 2x times negative 2x. Okay, negative 2 times negative 2, positive 4. Okay. X times x to the second power, okay? And now let's move on. So negative 2x times 1, well anything times 1 is itself, so I'm going to bring down that negative 2x. Okay, all right, now let's move on to something a little bit more challenging. Okay, all right, this is going to be a long one. So let's multiply 4x to the second power times y. And we're going to multiply that with this trinomial, 5x to the second minus 3xy plus 2y to the second. Okay. This may look intimidating, but it's actually, it's not that difficult. Okay, so let's distribute this. Here we go. 4 times 5 is 20. Okay. X to the second times x to the second, x to the, remember add these together, x to the fourth. Okay, y, and then there isn't a y here, so we're just going to bring that down. Okay, let's move on. Okay, let's multiply this times this term. Okay, 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Okay, x to the second times x, remember there's like a little invisible 1 here, so bring down the x, 2 plus 1, 3. Okay, now y times y to the second power. Okay, let's move on. All right, 4 times 2, positive 8. X to the second, and then there isn't another x to the second here, so just bring down that x to the second. Okay, and then y, so y to the first times y to the second, y to the third. Okay, all right, let's move on. Okay, let's say I'd like for you to simplify this problem. Okay, all right, and just by looking at it, we can tell we've got distributive property that we got to do here, distributive property that we have to do over here. Okay, well, let's go ahead and distribute. Okay, 3n times n, 3n to the second. Okay, 3n times 2, 6n, right? Okay, so we're done with that. Let's move on to this. N times 5 is positive 5n. Okay, be sure to add that plus sign right there. Okay, and then n times, this is like a negative 1n. Okay, it's almost like there's a little invisible negative 1 in there. So that would be negative. It's almost like a negative 1n to the second power, okay? But we don't really need that 1 in there. Okay, now, because we need to simplify, we have to combine like terms. Are there terms that have what I like to say, are there any terms that have the same last name? Okay, so let's go left to right. So n to the second power, we've got one over here. So 3 minus, and then that 1 minus 1 n to the second power. Okay, so that is 2n to the second. Okay, if this helps you out by circling it and crossing it out, you can do that. Okay, and then we have 6n and 5n. Okay, they're like terms too. So 6n plus 5n is positive 11n. Right? Okay, so there you go. We simplified.